One of the biggest mistakes gardeners make is thinking that adding compost alone will automatically transform lifeless soil. I used to think the same way. I would layer compost on top of my clay beds, water it, and wait for worms to arrive. Weeks would go by, and the soil remained compacted, lifeless, and nearly impossible to work with. The real consequence is that plants struggle to establish strong roots, water drains poorly, and soil life remains dormant. What changed everything for me wasn't buying expensive amendments or relying on fancy fertilizers, it was cardboard. That's right, simple, free cardboard. The results weren't instant, but within a few weeks, a bed that had been dead for years became alive, full of worms, microbes, and fertile structure. If you're serious about growing real food, this is the method you need to understand. Subscribe to Husbandry early in the video if you want more actionable strategies like this that actually work in real gardens. One of the misconceptions I had at first was expecting cardboard to act like compost. Compost releases nutrients quickly, and it can make the soil look healthy fast. Cardboard works differently. It's mostly carbon, so it doesn't spike nitrogen or immediately fertilize plants. Instead, it encourages microbial life and worms to work deeper in the soil. I've tested this in raised beds, backyard plots, and even in clay-heavy garden corners, and the principle is the same. Worms are drawn to carbon-rich layers, tunneling down slowly and incorporating organic matter into the soil. Over time, this builds humus, aerates compacted soil, and improves water retention, far more effectively than dumping compost on the surface ever could. Cardboard only works if it's moist. Dry cardboard sitting on top of soil does nothing except block weeds. When I lay down flattened sheets, I water them thoroughly so the cardboard feels damp to the touch. I've found that laying cardboard over clay or lifeless soil, then soaking it until it holds moisture without becoming a soggy mess, creates an irresistible environment for worms. Within a week, they start moving through the cardboard, breaking it down from the top down. In a 4 by 8 foot raised bed, I usually overlap sheets by a few inches to avoid gaps and ensure continuous coverage. This way, worms and microbes gradually integrate the cardboard into the soil, creating structure and feeding life where it matters most. Another common mistake is using either a single thin layer or a huge, unwieldy stack of cardboard. Too thin, and it decomposes too quickly, mostly at the surface, without allowing worms to penetrate deeply. Too thick, and the cardboard can suffocate microbes in the middle, slowing decomposition. I've found that 2 to 3 layers of flattened cardboard, roughly ½ inch each, is optimal. Overlapping edges by a few inches ensures that worms won't encounter bare soil patches and keeps moisture evenly distributed. After a few weeks, you'll start seeing tunnels, small soil clumps forming within the cardboard, and the telltale signs of a bed that is finally coming to life. Compost gives you quick nutrient availability, but cardboard improves soil structure. Many gardeners chase speed, spreading compost repeatedly, but this often leaves clay beds heavy, compacted, and poorly drained. Cardboard changes this dynamic by decomposing gradually, which allows worms and microbes to move deeper rather than staying on the surface. In one clay bed I rehabilitated, laying 6 sheets of cardboard and keeping them moist resulted in worms tunneling down several inches in under 2 weeks. By the end of the month, the soil was noticeably softer, more aerated, and able to hold water without pooling. Plants rooted faster, grew stronger, and resisted drought better than beds treated with compost alone. While cardboard feeds soil slowly, adding a small layer of compost on top can, really jumpstart microbial activity. I usually sprinkle roughly a 1/4 inch layer of compost before topping with straw or wood chips to retain moisture. This combination encourages microbes to begin breaking down the cardboard immediately, while still letting worms and soil organisms do the heavy lifting over time. In raised beds, this method creates a layered ecosystem: cardboard for slow structural improvement, compost to stimulate microbial life, and mulch to maintain moisture and temperature. In small backyard gardens, you can start with a single 4x4 or 4x8 bed. Clear weeds, loosen the surface gently with a fork, lay 2 to 3 layers of dampened cardboard, and overlap the edges by a few inches. Sprinkle a thin layer of compost if you like, then cover with a ½ inch of straw or wood chips. In larger beds or clay-heavy soil, work in strips, maintaining continuous coverage but allowing sections to rest and integrate. For hydroponic adjacent soil amendments, the same principle applies. Cardboard acts as a carbon source and structural element that eventually feeds the living medium without overwhelming it with quick-release nutrients. So, this method isn't about instant gratification. If you want immediate plant growth, compost alone will deliver a faster visual result. But cardboard takes time, and the payoff is deeper improved soil structure, better water retention, aeration, and long-term fertility. It's especially effective in clay or compacted soils where worms are slow to arrive. Honestly, I've seen beds that were completely lifeless transform into thriving, worm-populated soil within just a few weeks of using cardboard, a result that repeated compost applications never achieved in the same time frame. The trade-off is patience, but the rewards are long-term stability and productivity. The key takeaway is that slow feeding is deep feeding. Cardboard doesn't just add nutrients, it changes the way soil functions. It promotes worm activity, improves aeration, and allows roots to penetrate further. It works in clay, sandy or mixed soils, and is effective across raised beds, backyard gardens, and even soil-based hydroponic setups. When combined with moisture management and just a bit of compost, it's a proven method for turning lifeless soil into living soil that sustains plants for years. If you've been frustrated with lifeless soil, don't just chase compost or quick fixes. Use cardboard strategically, keep it moist, and allow worms and microbes to do their work. Over time, you'll see soil transform, plants grow stronger, and yields improve without constant intervention. This approach works for small backyard plots, raised beds, and soil-adjacent hydroponic systems. For gardeners who are serious about real, long-term results, cardboard isn't just a cheap filler. It's one of the most effective tools for building living soil. Subscribe to Husbandry for more practical, tested advice and share this video with other gardeners who want to see their beds come alive. Real growth comes from methods that work over time, and using cardboard correctly is, honestly, one of the simplest, most effective ways to achieve that.